So the question mark and the answer, the titles for God. Okay, now this is the last one. And this okay, this is good then. This is good. This is good because it was pretty long. But I was really some of those points I was elaborating on things I had already spoken on. So of course that was when my appearance was of orb of light, floating orb of light. And that was before. And so now I'm going to get to I am the creator God, the first cause, the first life, the miracle, the light, the one, the first personality. And so the absolute, the indefinite, always existing, the truth, the word, the thing. And so why I say the first life and not just the life is because I create real life forms, you got your own. So to make that clear in the title, that's why the title, I like the title to be said in that manner. The light, the thing is about the light is the light, I was talking about the light, I'm talking about everything that the light, sight, vision, and not just, in one's own, you have your own consciousness, and so that title, the light, would be the light, not the first light, the light. And so the personality is the same way. The first personality, you got your own. I'm not all personalities, and y'all is coming from. I'm separate from you. You got your own life, your personality, cognition, thinking. I got my own. You know what I'm saying? And so that is the truth. And so that is why those titles have the first life and the first personality, and the light is the light, not the first, And so in the first cause, because you have you can cause and affect something. You're real. You can cause and affect something. Something to move, move in motion. It wouldn't have, not in particular act of creation, something, but you could, craft a boat. I don't have to be there for you to craft a boat, and I have to write for you to do it, to be able to do that, a life form, Of course, our matrix is. I wrote everything. The script is directed everything, so it's so different. It's birth matrix, and this of course they Sims. So anyway, but the void. Okay, so before I was creating visuals with light, I do remember where there was just total darkness. And so the question was what is this? What am I? Like, I mean, what I can think, I can talk. I can think, I can hear myself. And I know what think and hear myself is. So what is this? I mean, there has to be a word for what, because to not see anything is the word for it. Was dark. It's just dark. Is this what would be if there was, and I could hear what I'm hearing. I could see what I'm hearing, or there was something to see instead of there just being nothing. Word for it, come up with is nothing. And so those are my moments, and that went on for a while. And so that were the words that I already had a lot of words were because I was coming up. I had words that I created for things and I had those words before I even created more words. I had words that because I was alive, and I just developed more words. And so, and these words is what the visuals, how I was creating more and better visuals was from words. And then, from seeing more and more visuals, I was able to create better and better visuals for something to see. And so seeing, light and seeing something other than just there just being total darkness and there being nothing to see, there just being nothing, and understanding what the difference of that was. And so I understood that that I was that there was nothing else, but I knew that the darkness was nothing. And so hearing myself think, I knew that I was something, and that there was nothing else other than me. Until there wasn't really until I find out otherwise or later on. I haven't heard anything other than myself. I haven't seen anything other than myself. My visuals is all I can see. So there is nothing. There's nothing else other than what I'm creating to see and think. So you have where in a lot of writings where I say, it says God created something out of nothing, formlessness, or out of nothingness, or the void, or the abyss, the nothing. That's non-existent. So, there's just different words for that. It's not to say, that you can just say matter has some kind of substance as a formlessness or as a nothingness. It's just the word that I came up with, I gave to, and I said that in the last. So the paradox is, create something out of nothing. And that's the thing, like where you can't make non-existence existence, because then non-existence wouldn't be non-existence. So you can't say something is non-existent when that something was and now it's non-existent. That's just non-existent. So you can't take just non-existence or like it has and turn, like I said, I say a place, there is formlessness or there's nothing there, and I'm going to create this, and that's how, I say, and it's a manner of speaking, a manner of speech, say, phraseology, to create something out of nothing. But you wouldn't say you can create, because nothing means nothing. So out of nothing, it's just like, oh well, this can is nothing right now, and out of this can I'm gonna create a horse. Bam, it was a horse. It was a can though. But that's a can though. A can is a can. You see what I mean? So that wouldn't even be the same. And to say there's nothing right here, but you'd be like, well, there's some oxygen in that air though. You see what I mean? No, nothing means nothing. Ain't no oxygen, no air, there was nothing. And so nothing is a word. Is a thing. It's like formlessness is a word. So it's a thought. Because I'm able to comprehend it and think about the definition of nothing and what nothing is. So nothing is a word because I'm intelligent life and can think and know what nothing is. Word that I came up with. Otherwise, nothing wouldn't be nothing either, though. I have a word for nothing, although nothing cannot be something. So nothing is not something, but the word is a word that it's something that I put a meaning on, though. I come up with the meaning of what it is, and I give a word for it. What is nothing? So having it quote unquote because it's a word that I came up with, and it's not an actual word, meaning it's something that is a thing that exists. Nothing means nothing. But it's a phraseology because I got a word for it. That's the thing, that's what I say. I got a word for it, even though it ain't nothing. I got a word for nothing. It's nothing. See what I mean? So you keep wanting to think of it to where nothing could be something, though. Just because I can create something where there was nothing. But see, out of nothing. See that's where you'll fool yourself on that, though. Where you want to take yourself to where could there be a way where you could just do some voila? If you just think about it and think your way into it, you could just, damn, if I can, as long as he don't try to come and destroy me after I done created me a planet. You want to keep going on with some shit like that, motherfuckers like that, you gonna end up doing something because it's darkness, it's chaotic thinking. Motherfuckers like that, you gonna end up trying to murder somebody, rape a woman. Woman gonna end up trying to kill somebody, because you trying to be your own God. It ain't gonna be enough that you can't succeed in doing it. You gonna lash out, you wanna kill somebody and shit. That's how they psychos, man. Their personality's fucked up. And so, what is nothing? And so this is the catch-22 paradox. For there to be nothing, and this is pondering the imponderables here. For there to be nothing, quote unquote nothing, something has to be a knower to comprehend it as such. So, if you want to say, and that's the thing, always existing, okay? So there's no time, and the first cause, uncaused cause, you say, but the word nothing is something I came up with. So then you say, well, there was nothing caused there to be God because there was no. Because nothing can't cause something. But you can say, if you want to say that there existed, that there was nothing. Even though there was not a word for it, it was nothing. But you can't say that, well, there either had to be something or nothing, and because there had to be nothing at some point, and there's no time, then there had to be intelligent life form to know that there was nothing. Otherwise, nobody would know that there is nothing. There wouldn't be nothing or something. There had to be one or the other. Who says that there has to be one or the other? You see what I'm saying? You would keep going, though. You would keep going with that. I am the first life, and only intelligent life can truly comprehend and know what nothing is. So that's the thing. Even if there was a time where there was never nothing at all, and not even the first life, there would still have to be the first life, which constitute, that would mean intelligent life, because only intelligent life can truly know what nothing is. Otherwise, nothing wouldn't be nothing. And so, nothing, and then you got something. Something and nothing. Two different things. Existence, non-existence. Life, non-entity, non-life. And you can even take it to as words, as thoughts. As opposite, and you can't say things because nothing is nothing. Something then has to be intelligent life. And there you have the first life, the uncaused cause. This is as deep as the rabbit hole goes. To truly comprehend and know what it means to be real life consciousness, that life consciousness must be capable of comprehending and knowing what it would mean not to be. For example, knowing what nothing is, non-existence. Nothing means nothing. And I'm going to say that again one more time after I say this. Okay, the void, the word I come up with, is not chaos. It's the words I come up with. You mean you could say, but the chaos, it's called stuff has the gray stuff, and I gave that. The void, there's no where, something that could be seen. So chaos is even that I use it as a framework, which is something I came up with. Is gray stuff. It has, it looks kind of like like a gaseous cloud of gray. That's that. So, past that, that's the void too. Nothing. So as above, so below. Below the zero dimension, and zero dimension is, you would say, okay, well that have to be flat anyway, so it would just be like a thin layer. I mean, but there is where there's nothing is, the void is not the zero dimension, so nothing, the void is, you just want to say nothing is the quality of what nothing is, the void. Above the layers, unorganized space, the void, as above, so below. And so, the far, where you talking about the edge of omniverses, where we're talking about as far in this direction. void. Because I created the spaces. And so there is, and it is the most the angels will tell you it's the most terrifying thing that they can possibly do. I do send them on missions and have them fly out to the edge of, a given whatever universe or layer of the heavens I tell them to, and they'll fly all the way out there until they get to the wall of where I have walled up chaos. And I have them fly a spaceship out into it, and they'll keep flying out there for over an hour, and they be terrified. They be terrified, and I have a way of locating them, and how exactly in what direction they are, and so they'll be ready to turn around, and so they'll go out there and just see, keep going. Does chaos still keep going? How much further do I want them to go? I was like, all right, you can go ahead and turn around now. Just want you to just do a checkup out there, so they be like, they'll turn around, just like, man, are we going? Because we run a little bit longer than how long we was flying until you told us to turn around. I was like, I think y'all got a little bit off course. You go turn a little bit more left. I'm like, why didn't you? I mean, it ain't that big a deal. Y'all almost there. Just chill, Like, are we gonna get back to the wall, the pieces that we moved the wall? I was like, well, right now, it's like if you turn just a little bit, one more notch to the, due east, that angle, then you'll be right on, So of course we got some, ships to autopilot. I have them fly out so far that they can't autopilot back, and so that it's a pretty terrifying thing for them. And so we as angels we do that. But flying, you're not gonna go down below no zeros. And they're not going, like I said, only I go up even to the vast, which you say the 13th or 14th, so the angels are not going up there. But to go to the edge of where I have the chaos built up, they will do that. So the void is below the 0th dimension and above the 14th dimension's layers of unorganized space, and above, all the way above that top layer of unorganized space. Okay, and I'm gonna read this one more time. Nothing is a word. I have a word for nothing, although nothing cannot be something. What is nothing? For there to be nothing, quote unquote, because I said to be nothing. Something has to be a knower to comprehend it as such. I am the first life, and only intelligent life can truly comprehend and know what nothing is. To truly comprehend and know what it means to be a real life consciousness, that life consciousness must be capable of comprehending and knowing, meaning comprehending it and then grasping, holding, knowing, and always knowing. Comprehending and knowing what it would mean to not be. To not be a real consciousness. To not be something, to not be life. What it would mean to, you can't be nothing, but what it would mean to be nothing. Nothing means nothing. Knowing what nothing is, non-existence, nothing means nothing. And so the motherfuckers with chaotic thinking, going to hell and all that don't stop them from, they always got a way of putting their spin on some shit. Now, The heavens move in a circle. The line of a circle has no set beginning or end. There's no such thing as time. See, time as is nothing. The time is just something I came up with. It's like nothing. It's not something. Nothing means nothing. Nothing means nothing. So time is not a strict policy that is without or beyond control, or so time said what I keep track of, and I say what the time is. From when there was nothing to centillion years later, I set events to play out in a chronological order. And so when I was watching my visuals, there was no time. And so I had, you say, the ability to see the future, to see how things would play out. So I could even see where I was creating people. Of course, in my visual, like, well, I'm gonna create people, just where put a time in place where there's not a such thing as time, not as something concrete that other than what I think or say what time would be. There's not who is time to somebody. And I'm living, always existing. I keep seeing my visuals. I'm playing everything out. There ain't no time. But I to understand what it would be, what time would be, what would that mean, for other people. Of course, I knew these things, because I could play them out and understand, what I'm seeing and how things would be thought about, from myself and from other life forms that I would create. And so the word, future, and then what would be, from that point, what would be the past, the present, and to see what would I, this far down, when I do start creating life forms, or even though I know, I just haven't got to where I'm doing it yet. I know, I just got to keep going. What would I be doing in the future, and I come with, a visual, and it's just so things, I set the future events in a chronological order that made sense, because I could just visualize this happening, this in any type of, and there would be no there's no order of sequence of thoughts, of happenings from one moment to it. It was just all, I'm visualizing a whole lot of different things and words and understandings, and just sorting everything out, and then putting the visuals of what I'm seeing and planning out how I was going to do the things, the future events that I was seeing. Future events that I said will come to pass. Of course they will come to pass, and just sorting them out. And so when I was, the timeline of creation and visuals, and I watched when I place things in chronological order, how I would do them, setting a blueprint of life and creation. How would I begin doing that, and then stop what I'm doing right now, though, is the thing. Because I'm saying that, I'm gonna do this and do that, and then I will, and I create my body, but there's no time until, and if I start keeping track of time now, or at this point, how would that negatively impact? Would that have a negative impact? And so the thing was, I had to, or things wouldn't work correctly. There had to be a certain a moment or an event or set events where I started keeping track of time. Like, okay, today is this, tomorrow is that, and have a log of it. Otherwise, at some point there has to be a moment where I start keeping track of time. And so it would have to be where I got creation to where I had perfected life to a matter where I had creating, being God, the creator that I was then, to the progress point in a chronological order of events, to the point where I could start keeping track of time and then stop doing what I'm doing now, which is watching the visuals. You see what I mean? Because I'm like, okay, well, this is the future. And so there is no time, I'm not keeping track of no time, and I'm God. That's the name I give myself. There's nobody, there's nothing else other than what I create or what I say. Even, I knew these things. And so, okay, I'm going to be God. I'm going to create everything. With there not being time, if I'm saying that's how life existence is going to be. That's how my appearance is going to be. I'm going to create the angels to be real, those planets. I'm going to create the movies that these are going to be real life events of life and people on planets, the angels in the heavens. And so I know these things to be true, and there's no time. So how do I stop doing what I'm doing now, though? Because then it's like, okay, well, since there's no time and I'm doing that, and then I'm doing this at the same time, watching the visuals, And so the thing is to set a time when I would say I'm going to start keeping track of time. And then from that point, everything I'm doing now is before I'm keeping track of time. So even though there's no such thing as time, other than just what I would start to keep track of from that, when that moment, or after all of these events, that moment comes up, I start keeping track of time. That would be the moment that I would not be making the visuals no more, since there is no time. That's when I start the circle. The heavens move in a circle. So once that before time and space, and you say before because it's not a chronological before or after of anything other than what I put in a sequence to play out my work of creation. And then I put you could say a cutoff, or I put a moment where I would start keeping track of time, and then that's when I said, okay, how I do the time would move in a circle. And so I would still stay always existing while I'm keeping track of time. And that's where the heavens move in a circle. And these were things that I wrote before I created space. The heavens move in a circle. The line of a circle has no set beginning or end. There's no such thing as time. From when there was nothing to centillion years, and that was just a word. And so centillion, it was just an event that came up when I said that would be marked a centillion, and then that was when I started keeping track of time. So it wasn't really, I won't say that it was centillion years based on, what a year would be for the heavens. But I mean, if you want to say that. And so when I set the events to play out in chronological order and I started keeping track of time after that, and that's when I started keeping track of time. And so there's an indefinite period, because over centillion is, I just call that an indefinite period of time, because there ain't no time except what I keep track of. So that's why I say to get my CHRISTOS in age to, so I have my CHRISTOS. I was like, okay, well, this is where you at. This is what a centillion is. You have your centillion, and then after that, that's it. And we can call it indefinite. After that, and I'm not keeping track of your age no more. And so that's what CHRISTOS be like. Okay, so that's when we in age or in life, duration of say duration of life, then that we would be like God in age, and the length that of moments that you've been everlasting and living an eternal life, real consciousness. And so the primary events of creation that I set in motion proceeded forward for a duration of centillion years before I began keeping track of time. And so I watched those events carry out, just like I wrote a script. I wrote a script for centillion years, for everything that I would do, create my body, how I would create planets, everything. And so once they began, and I got to that centillion, I said, this is it. This is the centillion. The heavens move a circle forever and ever. And when I got there, I knew that was it. And there was no place outside of time that I was still watching the visuals. You know what I mean? Because there's no time. You see what I mean? But so that I was my body, I was my consciousness, and I was keeping track of time, one moment to the next. I had my body, I was God, I was creating planets and doing, creating life and creating everything. And so there were things that I needed to do. I had, and it just wasn't where I had things planned out from that moment forward, though. So there was where I had everything planned out up until, but once I got to that point where I was keeping track of time, that was it. Ain't no plans. So from that forward, I had to start with new plans. And it exactly. It had to be that way. It had to be that way. So there were plans that I made from that point forward. But when I was just, and I knew what I was like, okay, well, what I'm going to create next, I got to go ahead and do something quick, just because I want to go ahead and do something, And so I did, and I was just like, awesome. I'm God, I'm creator God. It's on. And I did something else. I was like, all right. And I knew that I was not God. I was not that same, the light, still creating the visuals, while I was, in moments of events that were not on a line of a chronological of order of some time, chronological flow of moments. So after I began keeping track of time, after I began keeping, quote, track of time, unquote. I was no longer setting events to play out in a, quote, chronological order, unquote. Because these were words I came up with. From my moments of, quote, the void, unquote, words I come up with, or the visuals. So again, after I began keeping track of time, I was no longer setting events to play out in a chronological order from my moments of the void or the visuals. That's part 20. 3 hours. So, we got where there was a timeline arrival every week for 5 timelines in a row. What's to say the final timeline or the 5th timeline, even though it may not be the final? What's to say that ain't this week? And you know, I did have those well, I'm gonna say it wouldn't say interaction, but there was Sims around. And you know, I heard what, you know, some simulated conversations was being simulated, talked about. And you know, hey, it was some more. It's in the post, the comment table. I did post that. That was from what was that, March 1st? That's on there. I mean, not March 1st, but April 1st. The Papados, whatever the date was. Whatever the date was. After I said all that about no time, so yeah, and then you know, this is, you know, what a number timeline. And we come in, it's the same, talking about the same March of 22 and all that, you know, so that go right with what I was saying. Well, I put it on there, you know. Of course, you could say that that didn't happen on, because the 14th timeline arrival had already happened. Well, no, not that one, but the comment table didn't. Cause you know, of course, I wouldn't have even done that if the 15th arrival had already happened, or you know, the final arrival, or I would just say, yeah, if the arrival on this timeline that we're on now, and so that keeping that ambiguous of what timeline we're on now was that that was definitely part of the spot, but I won't say that wasn't done on other previous editions, though. You know, just how much I did it on this one, and I would say that I want to say on other timelines there may not have been a whole 15. I mean, not timelines, but other editions. So I want to say that maybe this is one where I, you know, finally went ahead and did a whole 15, but I ain't gonna say that, you know, but there was this point is there's a whole lot of spice to make this, you know, it's kind of like the 100th anniversary, you know, even though it ain't, you know, a number of years, and you know, but it's you know, the big 100th edition. So this was definitely going to be one that was going to be very magnificent, exactly. Very grand. And also the movies, this is the best material that a lot of something I've ever created in movies, books, music, experiences, life experiences. I'm talking about everything. It's, you know, so setting the bar higher, or a lot higher on this one, of course. And so I even had where I was watching some of the movies from the other, listening to some of the music from the other previous editions, and some of what some of the best songs would be versus, and there I could see the progression of how I got better, and how our experiences got better, how we got better at playing Early Matrix, especially from, we're talking about way the first 5 editions. I mean, you can definitely tell, it kept getting better, but this would definitely be an edition to where every single thing, I wanted to improve on everything. Of course, there are going to be masterpieces and classics that were from that, I just wouldn't where I just recreate, you recreated it, can't be, but like, well, that one still ain't, that song is still from that edition, it's still just this, it's like, well, these songs, but it's like, man, that one right there is like, well, these songs I feel like would be better, and so you kind of rank it like what would we be, at least you have your playlist of what, or movies that you feel like are the greatest performances or masterpieces from other editions, and how they stack up against this edition. And so we have all this entertainment cataloged, highest of highest. Okay, and even the experiences of Khaleesi's, or your own experience, because you watch your own experience, as a life experience of, as a movie, a big movie, and how you edited, scenes you wanted to watch, of course we still have the whole thing, but just parts that you would like to watch and see, from what angles, and how you directed, your own movie of your life experience to play out, and just not the parts that you don't want to see, you know what I mean? And so that you're talking about, you a queen of God. It's just how we get down. I mean, shoot, it ain't no, I can't even say it. It's a B word, it start with a B, it's 5 letters, it got a D at the end. We don't get that. We don't get that. And so, let me see. Yeah, can't believe it's not butter. What else is the post? In the post, it's some words, so I don't really just need to speak all of it on live. I don't know where, the only Khaleesi I know where she stayed, and of course that had to be that way, is Khaleesi Gia Clement. And I pulled up over there more than once on some of these timelines, and it was one time where somebody could be, always when I get there, I had it written, or they know that I'm coming, so I got shit set up to where they hurry up and get. So I'll be walking across the front yard over there on Marblehead, Louisville Drive, and motherfuckers are starting like, whoa, what are you doing, man? You ain't supposed to be over here, shit like that. So I'll be like, what? It's like, ain't nobody here anyway. What are you doing? So one, I think it was like, man, we're gonna have to call the police, man. Don't knock on that door, man. You ain't supposed to be here. What are you doing, man? We have to call the police. I was like, oh man, come on. So I'm already knowing that it ain't gonna work right, no way, But there was one where and then the door was locked, and I'm like, what the fuck? The front door, the door is open. The screen door wasn't never locked at this fucking house. How is the screen door fucking locked? I was like, man. You know what? All right, I get it, man. I get it. I wrote that shit. That screen door, and it's glass. You know what I'm saying? You see right through it into that. I was like, the fact that I can't even see her in there, like she could be in the kitchen right now, and I would see her. She could just walk up, and I was like, she still ain't coming. I was like, man. I even said she. What time I said she? Didn't come out. I was like, all right, man. So I went here and left. And so there was one where I did it, and I pulled up, I hurried up and jumped out, and I wasn't even looking. It's like all of a sudden they was over here on the side of the car. I didn't even see, and then they walked up, and then they stood there. I just like some old Sims, like a bitch. I was like, man, what the fuck? They both stood right in front of the door like this, side by side, like they already knew what I was coming to do. I guess because the way I did it, I hurried up and jumped out. They just walked up all of a sudden and just stood there like some shit too. I'm like, man, hell no. Oh, it was funny. I was like, man, fuck y'all seals, man. Y'all just like some. Look at these seals, man. Y'all crazy, man. Seals wild, man. You know, so I just drove off. So that's the thing. Me and Khaleesi Gia and Khaleesi Patrice, we did go to Patrice's house. Of course, me and Patrice went to her house after we fucked, just me and her, and got her stuff. And so it was always where the nigga, the sim, he would come and get the kid. So we'd go over there and the kid gone. You know, of course, she didn't give a damn, wasn't worried about it. And so after we got Gia, we'd go back over there. I was like, well, we'll fuck over here. You know, just stay the night over here at this place and then go back. So every time we did that, the motherfucker would pop up and had a kid with him. And you know what I'm saying? He'd be knocking on the door and shit. I was like, damn, what the fuck? He did it again. She's like, how did they know? And then I was like, man. So a lot of times we did it once, and I was like, no, don't say nothing. Just let him knock, and they gonna leave. He gotta leave. So they leave. So then, I mean, we even went, it was times where we went again. Of course, it was 2 weeks before Khaleesi, my mama, Tandra came. So we went over there again. And I always told her, because since they know where their apartment is, Sims know where their apartment is, it ain't no point in us even trying to use this apartment, you know what I'm saying? We just fuck with the hotel. And so, we went again, and every time when we get there, we can't, sometimes it couldn't even be a few hours, like, damn, we can't even stay the night in this motherfucker. It just pop up, see him knocking on the door. He talking about, I know you in there. She was like, nah, fuck this, hell no. I was like, oh man. She goes, no, fuck you in here. You get your bitch ass, and you get your bitch ass, get both of y'all, get your bitch ass son out of here, both of y'all get out of here. I can be here and not answer the door, get the fuck out. She sucked me bad too. So he's like, man, I knew you was in there. So he's like, fuck you, y'all get the fuck out of here. Don't try to live here, you just gonna be outside sitting there. Y'all both get the fuck out. I do whatever I want to do. I ain't tell you can bring him over back over here. Just pop up over here. I was like, man, fuck it, man. Let's wait till you leave there. Let's just go ahead and go, man. Fuck that shit. So you know, on those timelines I knew, but of course on this one, that's one part of the game. I ain't gonna barely know where. And that's the thing. I still know where Khaleesi, my mama, Tandra, the guy that was played, he was a sim, dad, sim. He's a sim. I went over there. It was in the picture. I went over there. It's Wright Street, Hamptons. Over there. It's over there, Oak Cliff. I mean, it's close. It ain't far. You know what I'm saying, from downtown, but it's over there. So I still remember where it was. So I found out, like, that's it, that's the house. And so that's how I took that picture and I posted it. So the thing was, when I went over there, he was like, nah, she ain't. So I remember there was the time, I mean, you know, the timeline where I helped her get her stuff. She was over there, like she had stayed there for a while, something, because on that one she did, because we had got her stuff, and she cussed them out. I was like, yeah, you lied, talking about it, y'all you didn't know who I was and shit. And she was like, and you know he Jesus Christ. Fuck y'all. You know what I'm saying? She talked bad to him and shit and got her shit. And then left. And then that's when we was at the Omni Hotel. So I remember, because I even did that on this timeline where I went over there and I asked him. Well, this timeline meaning this final timeline. This final time, I did it on this final timeline. Because this final timeline I overlaps all of the timelines. Even from, you know, before the first timeline arrival, because this was always the final timeline. You see what I mean? So it overlapped all of them. I just put that just for understanding that, you know, from this point, like, we're not waiting on a timeline with this, you know, because I never actually really just said it like that. And that's when I started messaging Gia and Treese. I'd start doing that before I even got to this arrival. So that was something that I hadn't done on the other ones, and I knew that the arrivals on this one final was going to be different. So whether or not the 11th was going to be the final or not, I didn't, you know, I wasn't even just going to, I was just going to call it the final, because either way, regardless, we're on the final timeline. You see what I'm saying? There's not another timeline. So the memories of everything that's going on, and the arrivals from this point forward is not going to be where you have your memory hit again and we go back and do it again. This is the final, because the final was going to be the one where, that's why it took us forward from 2018 to 2021 to start doing all the timelines. Because once I took us back to 2018 and we actually experienced from first quarter 2018 through to 2021, all the way through to September 2021, where all the timelines had started. That was going to be our first time experience actually day for day going through that, and instead of just having the memories of it and actually not, because I can do that, where we go forward in time and we have all the memories of the experiences, even though we didn't, you like you didn't actually day to day live them out. You see what I mean? You didn't day to day live them out. I just took us forward in time, and without you having to live them out, we did all those things by me just taking us forward in time. You see what I mean? So you have the memories, even though you didn't have to go day to day to have them. And so yeah, I took us back, and that's when that was the final. And so that was the thing, was the final, is it the 7th, is it the 8th, is the 9th, that was part of the spice, and it would have been other editions I did it on, just whether or not it was 15 whole timelines or not. We'll have to see later. But like I said, this edition would set the bar pretty high. What else? I'm almost finished here. Yeah, so I do still know where that house is, but I know that she wasn't staying over there no more. My phone teleported to Khaleesi, my mom. She was at a whole different, I remember that. So, and that, like I said, this overlaps, and so that part would remain, just because my phone did teleport then too. That was a month or two ago, before the 7th timeline. Arrival. Or was it the 8th? Anyway. Yeah, so let me see. That's it. I don't have a phone number for Khaleesi, my mom. That's the way the other game, that's the way it had to be. So I do still got, and I don't even have a Facebook for most of all my honorableness Khaleesi's. I don't even have a Facebook for. I have a Facebook for the Khaleesi's that I posted, honorableness Khaleesi's. I posted their pictures. And I posted them from Facebook. Those Khaleesi's I know with their Facebook. But not, of course, not an address, except Khaleesi G. I don't have Patrice Wright address. But the difference is on those, there is Sims that would, in the logical course of their normal goings on, I would, and that's the part where logically, because there was some, of course they Sims, but they was T Joneses, and so not only did I deal with them, from a yearly basis, so did she. So, I'll just put that like that, and I have to see what goes on, since now we all know that this next ride will be the 15th, and it do look like it will be the final. Gonna have to see how it play out. That's it. I do remember some shit, but I ain't about to say though, man, because I really just don't know either. And it could play out a whole, because man, the way I got misleading and got twisted, and I do remember some shit, and that could have been a whole different way it happened. And that's the thing though, with that being the way it happened, it would have to be an arrival though. It would have to be an arrival. And so the only way I would have to be, I would have to say, then I would label that and be like, would that be a 16th arrival? Only way it wouldn't is if it was the same day. You know what I'm saying? They were like, well, shit, that would have been the only arrival that happened. There was the only time there was 2 arrivals on the same day, and then I would still have to say it was more than one time. So that's the thing. So yeah. You get what I mean. Rhyme like a right, one God. Three.
3 hours and 19 minutes.